It's that time again. Right.
We are reading chapter 43 of the Tao Te Ching.
And this is my corner T bar. We're just reading it and having Dian Yunnan gold and golden strands. They're both from stone leaf tea. So we'll talk about that as well. Just I bought a lot of gold, Yunnan gold, and also I ordered from other brands. And this one is some they sent for me to try. So we'll talk about that in a second. All right, you can go, I guess.
Okay. The greatest flexibility in the world rushes into the greatest firmness. Oops. Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. Non-being penetrates where there is no space. This is how we know non-contrivance is beneficial. Unspoken instruction, uncontrived benefit. Few in the world attain them.
And that's the whole chapter 43, right? So earlier when we were reading it, the first thing I thought was things that erode like water and wind. They will get through the tiniest crack, and through that they will start eroding, and then the whole dam will fail because it was one little crack where water was getting through, and then started like making it bigger, and then boom. So in the same way, it's water, it's soft, malleable, but if it's in a dam, you can bust the dam and then just destroy everything under it, right? So if we try to contain it, we were talking earlier about how people react to news or to how you're doing or whatever, and they will not be able to stop themselves from trying to comparing or sabotaging, or like feeling envy, or like somehow like I wish I had that, or whatever it is.
I'm upset that you have it and I don't.
Yeah. So that's the last line, what it says, that
non-being penetrates where there is no space.
Keep going.
This is how we know non-contrivance is beneficial. Unspoken instruction, uncontrived benefit. Few in the world attain them. So if you also think of like as a being, if you have an identity and an ego that's very firm, you are not flexible. You are not, you are contrived and you are firm.
Yeah.
Versus being flexible and uncontrived.
Like, yeah, overcomplicated, right? So
you have a self to protect and hold up and feel envy.
That will be rigid.
Feel envy. Yeah, so that's firmness. I have a self. I have a thing. It doesn't fit in there. It doesn't fit with. I'm envious of you having that and I don't. Doesn't work for my identity.
Yeah, it is, and it says that teaching without words, performing without actions is the master's way. And so all the yapping of a priest and whatever, it really is the priest, but not the master. The master is someone you will learn from without words. And the whole story of the Tao is that he wasn't writing this stuff. He was forced to write this stuff by a guard that didn't let him go to die on the mountain that he wanted as he grew old enough to.
Interesting.
So he was like, you're not leaving until you put all this wisdom, because people will come from everywhere to talk to him.
Put it into words.
Yeah, what are we going to do without you?
Firm it up.
Yeah, so he put it on the Tao.
Which
supposedly that's the story.
By writing it down makes it firm. Makes it a being.
Makes it a being.
Makes it.
And that is another thing we were talking about today about a ancient topic in Taoism of that words are very powerful. The character, the semantics, you can put it there. The semantics, right, hold power. When we abstract reality into a symbol, we are kind of like basically conjuring a spell, but we need to really know what it means and what the context is for it to, represent what it should represent. And that's kind of like how the I Ching is a bunch of symbols, but it has to be a context, and you need to understand all of that to be able to use it. Otherwise, these words they have no meaning. And a word in itself is contrived. It's an abstraction of reality, right? So the more we contrive reality, the less we're going to be able to perceive it. So it's kind of a weird exercise because we have to do this. We're talking about it. We're teaching, so we're like, whatever. And we're constructing this like structure, but then we have to like knock it down to be able to perceive reality without it. And it reminds me of that principle of yin and yang, where like you can create good. Also in Taoism, you can create good without creating evil. And it's not the West concept of good and evil. It's just that counterproductive, productive, So everything you do, like what I was talking about the concept of sorcery, is that you're going to pay a price. You're moving something, and it's the first law of thermodynamics too, that in physics you can't just create energy or matter out of nothing. It's coming from somewhere, and that creates a vacuum there, and things fill it up, and other things move from there. So there's a whole action and reaction. So do you really want to mess with it? And it makes me wonder about like all this Taoist sorcery, or in sorcery in a way where like people are trying to impose their will on reality. That if they master more and more the concept of the way and Wu Wei, which is non-action, they end up realizing that the best sorcerer is actually the one that is not trying to conjure any spells, because it's flowing. So instead of forcing a rigid reality, and you make reality become rigid when you are going against it or trying to manipulate it, you flow with it, and you become that like water.
You just made me think of like, why would you want to alter reality? Why would you? What's at the root of it is my
Ego.
identity. Yes. It's like I care about myself, and I want the world to be different for my own benefit, survival, reproductive, success, whatever it is. So it requires that firmness and that identity to even care to impose my will on the world. But if I don't, it doesn't matter. I don't matter that much.
Yeah.
I don't care about myself that much.
And that is a huge Taoist teaching. You don't matter.
I don't matter. I don't care if I survive or not. I don't care.
I mean, you do, but it's not.
I would like
to the extent of
I'm going to
suffering,
do anything.
of creating suffering.
Yeah.
When that's not happening, like
or
to
try to do something about it, like
to ruminate on, I'm gonna die one day, or I remember when I was a kid, I would ruminate on like, oh, my parents are gonna die one day, and I would like spend the whole night like, and at the end, like, it's been how many years that I'm like, nah, yeah, yeah, they're gonna die, whatever. I'm not gonna feel all of those feelings like a little weird, obsessive, rehearsal.
But it's like, sounds depressing to people to be like, not care if I live or die. But it's like, no, I can, when I don't care, I can truly be with what's going on and savor it right here, right now, as for what it is. That flexibility versus having that firm ego, needing to mess with reality or try to impose some agenda on it.
because you're not dead, and it's in the future, which is fantasy. It's not happening. It's not the one moment that exists. So therefore, you're not feeling and experiencing reality for what it is. You're experiencing reality on your head. That is not. Therefore, don't think about the things that are not. Think about the things that are, because you don't know. Something can happen tomorrow where like the TV's off, and all you had was until that point. Why would you be feeling about what is not yet to come, and what things that came and went away? We cannot come back to the past. We can just look at it and whatever. But why are you feeling about the past, right? If it's not here yet, it's not here anymore.
Well, you talk about this a lot too. Like, can I go into that and go out? So yeah, we need to go into that firmness to be like, okay, let me have enough food for tomorrow. Let me earn enough money for tomorrow. Let me set things up so my kids have a good future. But then go out of it. Back to flexibility.
Yeah. So you also have people talking about free will and determinism, and it is that duality, right? And I think it's what's represented also in the yin yang, and who was like Tom Billy, I think is a YouTuber that was talking about the topic and coined it really nicely. To me, it was like, yes, that's what I needed to hear. Yes, it is determined. Your genetics, your environment, nature, you are nothing. It is determined what you're gonna do, and possibly artificial intelligence with enough tools will be able to know exactly what's your next move before you do it. How long before, I don't know, but like you will know before you do it, or how to make you nudge you in the right direction. So, but if we think like that, we cannot function as human beings. We can know that is the case, but we have to act as if we have free will, because otherwise our psyche, the machine we have, the interface that allows us to interact with the environment, will not work. So how is that to compare with the fact that we know we're going to die? Are you going to be ruminating and sad every single second of your life, and or are you just gonna be like, yes, and use that as a thing of
It's actually freeing.
freeing?
It's freeing to.
So when you're talking about determinism and some shit happens, it's like, oh, this and that, and you feel guilt or remorse or whatever, but you could also come back to that of, oh yeah, well, it's determined. And I think that comes a lot with monotheistic religions, such as Christianism and all of that, where it's like the will of God or whatever. And then you come back to free will, and you have this very ambiguous, not very clear way of explaining who's in charge of what, whose fault is what, but it's kind of that thing of that the subtle, this like very non-forming ethereal thing, gas-like, to say something ghostly, way of existence is malleable and subtle and can get through the cracks and all of that. And then you have the rigid, but that is how we exist. That is the reality. And I'm not saying in any way that is how reality is only, and there is nothing else.
Yeah.
At all. I do think that reality, we perceive it through our interface. We have certain emotions and senses that let us, so what we're talking about is a way of understanding through that interface. But reality is way more complex than that. So kind of like Donald Hoffman's idea of the interface, and we just perceive reality through the way we can, but it's a narrow spectrum compared to like, and maybe infinite spectrum. But yeah, it's just kind of like the duality again.
Well, You just made me think when you're talking of like we were talking about water, formless, but when it's frozen, it's not.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the
So
other
when
day.
things change,
Yeah.
it's like, well, no, it's very rigid and it's freezing actually. So it's like how the state, and therefore like we need an ego. And I've, you know, read about this a lot. I was like, well, we actually need it to be in this world, on this planet, and make it. I have to have an ego to justify killing that animal and eating it, because otherwise I'll just be like, I'm not going to eat anything. I have no. Why would I kill that thing?
Why would it interact with anything?
Yeah, and then I wouldn't. So we wouldn't even be on this planet. We need an ego, but can we go in, do it when we need to, and go out and be formless and be fluid and be gas, and then
With your cups. Yeah.
firm up when we need to. Just like when you get angry, you need to be mad and angry to defend yourself. Be like, not you, me. I'm gonna make it through this.
Yeah, so with the electron being a particle or being a
Yep.
wave, right? Is it the function and the thing, or is it a particle? Depends on how you observe it. But it is both at the same time.
Yeah.
And my point is, it's both at the same time. So you don't have to be either or.
Yeah.
And we fall into that mistake a lot of being like, you don't get angry or like this and that. But it's both. You have to be able to be both, not like a combination of both where you see a rock and a cloud. No, it's both.
Right. And that's why like demonizing the ego and hating on it, it's like, well, that we need it though. To some degree we need it. We need to get angry. We need to have some justification for killing the animal and eating it so I survive.
Yeah, I mean that's what Carl Jung talks about, the looking at the shadow, internalizing the shadow, and the shadow work and all of that. And it doesn't always have to be with negativity, but what is rigid and yourself. And in the Tao is basically embracing your humanity instead of doing something like overly far from being human and normal, like
like those monks who just eat 7 almonds a day and are like, I don't even deserve to eat anything. That's not.
And as you know, we've heard of that was of examples of that on nuns and others. It is not the extreme. It is not exclusive of monks in the East.
Yeah.
It's been very extreme as well in Christianism.
Of course, monks of any kind.
Yeah, but they get there in this, and I think that has to do also with what kind of person they are and how their brain works and all that. And so we, as I mentioned earlier, we all have an interface that is different. So for some people to be able to interact with reality will be different than for some others.
So the value of flexibility. The greatest flexibility in the world rushes into the greatest firmness. Non-being penetrates where there is no space.
So when he explained the non-being going to there is no space, is basically like the whole thing of not having an ego or not having like a very structured, like this is who I am or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then you can go somewhere because it's like it can mix with those people or whatever.
That's true. I'm too firm, too sharp, like we don't blend.
I'm too white.
Yeah.
for the to let.
But being able to turn into a gas when I need to.
Too black or whatever, Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like if you didn't care about that, you will be able to just go anywhere and like just.
Yeah. Which is great.
But it doesn't work like that because when I lived in Oakland and I was just like whatever, just like approach anyone, I learned the lesson the hard way.
Well, because that person was too firm.
Yeah, but it's real. So
you're
gonna get hit by a rock in the head, and it's not gonna be like, oh, let's imagine it's a cloud. No, it's gonna be a rock.
There's rocks.
There's rocks. So this is what you mentioned when I was saying, like, I thought about this the other day. I was like, I was driving into the job site and there was this mound of snow. And it reminded me of the time that I saw this pile of snow in Tahoe, and I was like, awesome, it's gonna be fluffy, and I jumped on it
Oh no!
like that, and then it slid to the side, and I had blood in my lip and whatever, and my friends were laughing at the fact that it's like, and it's like slid to the side. So yeah, that was water.
Ouch.
And then the sun's gonna come up, and you're gonna walk on the same place where that was, and there's nothing to say that's what I broke my mouth.
Like I swear it was there.
Yes, and the same with a car. If you drive into the bank of snow and it has too solid, you can break your
totally break your metal,
break your what's it called, the fender or whatever, and then it's gonna melt away, and you're gonna be, what is the thing that broke my car? It just melted away, right?
Yeah.
So it can become tough, and that's the thing when we're talking about water, and it's a very good example. Water goes into different things, and so does everything. Everything becomes liquid, everything becomes solid at different temperatures.
Right.
So maybe we should talk about temperature with it. Yeah.
Pressures.
Well, anyways, thank you for being here. We'll let you go, and I'm gonna talk about these teas actually in another video. Right?
Yeah.
Happy New Year.